Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now today we are going to have a good little rant. And as you can see from the video, I am standing in my hotel room overlooking the children's section. Yeah, we're on vacation. Just like Ten Hag is on vacation, and we're observing the play area because that's what Manchester United is, a children's play area. Now, they have spent all this time. Let's face it, we can all admit that INEOS wanted to sack Ten Hag. Had he lost the FA Cup finals, they would probably have sacked him the next day, and then they would still be looking for a manager all now, because the reality is, these people were in love with Thomas Tuchel. They wanted Tuchel, they were courting Tuchel, and the only reason why Tuchel isn't now the manager is because they could not agree on how they would go forward in terms of who would be responsible for what, and what Tuchel would be responsible for, and player transfers, incomings, stuff like that. Now, everybody knows Tuchel is somewhat of a control freak. Some places where he have coached before have found him problematic. That's why he left Chelsea. That's why he left Bayern. He didn't leave Dortmund under very good circumstances either. And so we know what Tuchel is all about. So the fact that they were trying to bring in Tuchel, knowing that Tuchel wants control of some aspects of the team, and knowing that Manchester United does not give their managers control of things like transfers and stuff like that, just goes to show how inexperienced they are at this sort of thing, or that they are children who wish for things to happen, even if your conscious mind tells you that that is not going to happen. So after they flirted with Tuchel, could not come to an agreement with Tuchel, they then continued to dilly-dally, talking to other coaches, De Zerbi and Poach and all of those people. And it's when they couldn't get anyone else, we are now having this announcement that, Ten Hag is going to be kept on as coach. No. My personal feeling on this, if this was an ordinary job, Ten Hag should have left it from the day it was leaked that they were going to sack him. He should have left the following day if this was an ordinary job where you just turn in your papers, hasta la vista, go about your business. But this is not an ordinary job. And so Ten Hag was well right, even after all of the humiliation and all of the disrespect, he was right not to walk away, because he would have walked away from his money. That's one. Two, probably all of that disrespect and running humiliation for the last 6 weeks or so was all designed to frustrate him and get him to walk away, which means they wouldn't have to pay him off if they sacked him. And having watched these people over the last couple of months since they have taken over football operations, and we don't really know what football operations they have taken over because the Glazers still seem to be very involved with football operations. They may very well, frustrated him to leave may very well have been the plan, but Ten Hag threw a spoke in that plan because one, he didn't leave, and two, which was even worse, they won the FA Cup. And so they were left now with this ongoing review. You would think it's a Fortune 500 with branches all over the world that they were auditing, and we were trying to establish our operations in 130 countries. No review takes that long. This whole argument about a review was a sham. It was rubbish. It was all just thrown out there to give us the impression that they were looking at Ten Hag's job and what he had done. My God, if you were looking at Ten Hag's job, what the hell were you doing since you came in? They wanted to sack the manager. The only reason why they didn't sack the manager was because they could not get who they wanted to replace him. And it would seem, in the end, they could get nobody to replace him. No, I think we should not fool ourselves going into the new season thinking that Ten Hag is going to last out the season. For the simple reason that after this kind of performance from INEOS, this circus act from INEOS, the minute he loses a game next season, the English media and their INEOS friends will be all over this guy like a cheap suit. Everybody will be baying for his blood. He's going to have to go unbeaten just to be able to breathe a little, just to get all of these idiots out of his ass for one day. And all of this is because of INEOS's childish, petulant behavior. This did not have to happen. They set out to deliberately humiliate the man. They set out to deliberately disrespect the man and do it in a public sphere just because they wanted him to leave his money. And I do not think, as much as everybody will say the right things going forward, if Ten Hag forgets this type of behavior going forward, he would be really dumb and naive. And I do not think for 1 minute he is dumb and naive. This is not something that you forgive. As an adult, this is not something you ever forgive. So this relationship between Ten Hag and INEOS moving forward for however long it lasts is not going to be one of cherries and roses. I can guarantee you that, even when they are all saying the right things, because we are all people, and Ten Hag must be feeling some amount of hurt after all of this, and knowing that it was done deliberately, and now you're going to come out to say, oh, the review is complete and we're keeping Erik, and all of that is bullshit. And we know it's bullshit. But Manchester United is a bullshit club. That's what they have become. Even small clubs are now run better. But then again, Manchester United is only a big club in name and supporters. In actual, practical football club terms, it's run like a small club. It plays like a small club. And that is a fact. Now, guys, if you are enjoying my rant, just subscribe to the channel, hit a like on the video. You know, we want to continue making these rants, and we can't continue making these rants without you. So thanks for that. Now, so INEOS is doing all of this. We are still expecting Ashworth to come in. There is no talk about transfers because since the season ended, it has all been about Ten Hag. So there is no talk about transfers. We don't even know if they have any money for transfers. What about the players leaving? Are there going to be any players leaving? I doubt it. Because what? Manchester United cannot move on players. Because why? They are overpaid, and so no one wants to take them on with the size contracts that they have. Anybody remembers Harry Maguire and West Ham last year? Why did Harry Maguire not move to West Ham? Because West Ham was not paying him the amount of wages that he's being paid at Manchester United. And he wanted Manchester United to pay the difference as an upfront lump sum in order for him to leave, and they refused, and that is why he's still at the club. So what is going to happen with people like Sancho? Sancho is on 300k a week. There is no other team in the world that's going to be irresponsible enough to pay Sancho that amount of money. Which means if Sancho is to move on, Manchester United is going to have to make up the difference of whatever the other club is going to pay him. Either that, or they're going to have to try and loan him out again, or he's going to be back sitting in Manchester not playing because what? Ten Hag is still the manager and he will not play for Ten Hag. So what do you do with Sancho? And all of those other players who you are paying crazy wages that nobody else wants. Or if someone will even take them, they won't take them at the wages that they are being paid now. So you're sitting there doing what? Hoping the Saudis will come in and try and buy the entire squad? That is your plan of action? That is your way forward as a responsible, sensible ownership, a responsible, sensible managerial group? That's your plan? Nah, you need to get on some slides. You need to go play in the sand a little because you're clearly not with it. You're children. Ten Hag has made his mistakes. I think the Mason Mount thing was just ridiculous. What were we doing with Mason Mount? And to top it off, he has been injured literally the whole season. But he doesn't fit in. And he's not that good. But Ten Hag was obsessed with him. In the same way, he was obsessed with Anthony. Anthony has proven to be a flop. But the Manchester United managers are supposed to take some of the blame for that Anthony buy. Because they dragged it out until the end of the transfer window. And that is why we ended up paying €100,000 for him. Because he was left very late in the window. That's ownership's fault. See? But Anthony has flopped. Onana has not been that great, to be honest. But is that Onana's fault? No, it's not. He was brought into a team that had a backline that was not suited to his style of play. And to be totally honest, it was a backline that was not very good. Manchester United's backline changed probably about 20 different times last season. They only kept 7 clean sheets in the Prem for the whole of last season. That's not how teams finish in the top 4 or win the league, by keeping 7 clean sheets. But the injuries ravaged them. There was hardly a week when he was playing the same back 4. Or if you played the same back 4 for 2 weeks, by the 3rd week, he was on to 2 or 3 games later, he had to be on to some other back 4 because of the injuries. But the injuries aside, sometimes his tactics were questionable and his substitutions were questionable. But all in all, that team performed to what it was able to perform. Rashford was supposed to be their star player. And he performed like Rashford. And the team performed in said manner. So Ten Hag has to take some blame. But which manager doesn't make mistakes? He's 2 years into the job. Which manager doesn't make mistakes? Which manager doesn't buy players that turn out to be flops? Which manager doesn't make substitutions that we all don't agree with? Which manager doesn't exercise tactical nuance, in-game tactical nuance sometimes that they ought to? None. They all make mistakes. They are all human. But to treat Ten Hag in the way that Ten Hag has been treated, as I said before, if he was working in any other job, he would have walked off that job a long time ago. And to be totally honest, we wish he could have walked off the Manchester United job and left them in the lurch after the way he was treated. That's not how you behave in a professional manner. That's not how you behave with people personally. And it is an indication of what that club has now become. It is an indication of what that club is now all about. It is also a warning to potential managers of the future that if you go to work for these people, this is how you may be treated when they are no longer in need of you. They will throw you to the wolves, they will damage your reputation, and they will damage you personally on a mental level because they just do not care. They are not about their people, they're about themselves. It's all a grandiose me act. It is just silly. So that's it for today. Let's see what happens with Ten Hag. I don't expect much to happen in the upcoming season. As I said, I personally think he's a dead man walking. It's not a matter of if they will sack him, it's when they will sack him, because that's what they want to do. They have only been prevented from sacking him because they could not get any other people they wanted to replace him. And now they are saying that, oh, the review and we're going to keep Erik. Bullshit. They didn't want Erik. They are stuck with Erik. And Erik, for the time being, is stuck with them. So let's see what happens going forward. And hopefully their play on the field next season will not reflect their actions in the boardroom. Because then, Manchester United fans, you're fucked. Have a good one and see you in the next video.